Hey you guys, so today's video is going to be another Morphe video. Yes, another Morphe video. I decided that after my last one that I posted, which I will leave a link to up here, where I said that, you know, I don't know how I feel about Morphe, like I feel like I have more questions than I have answers now basically after that last video. I was very impressed with the Jaclyn Hill palette. I still use it all the time. The 350 palette I just did not like even a little bit. I even made a bold statement that I probably wouldn't pick up brushes, but I am here to tell you that I'm going to give this one more college try so I can develop a full-blown, well-rounded, balls to the wall, no holds back opinion of Morphe, final word, and we can just move on with our lives. Today we're reviewing Morphe brushes, the actual brushes. This is my first time using them. I picked some of these up at Ulta and I ordered some as well. We're going to be talking about the Morphe 3502 palette. This is the one that everyone told me I needed to pick up if I wanted to be able to make an opinion of Morphe and da-da-da-da-da. Don't compare Morphe to anything but the 3502 palette, da-da-da-da-da. Here it is. So if I don't like this, I tried, you know what I'm saying? The sponge as well. This thing looks like it's been through the ringer because it has. I just used it. And last but not least, I wanted to try the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. This just seemed like a cool idea to me because it's an aerosol can destroying our environment one makeup application at a time. So cool. It's not cool that it's destroying the environment. I'm saying that the product is kind of anyway. Before we get started, make sure that you're subscribed. Check the down bar for links to all my social media platforms. Can follow me and hang out with me there. So yeah, let's just get started. Okay, you guys, I've already did my eyebrows. I've already done my eyebrows, already did them, whatever. And I'm wearing my makeup shirt, so it's got dog hair on it. You guys know the drill. Today we are talking about Morphe brushes, as I mentioned. So one side of my face I'm going to do using my brushes, which are right here. These are all my tried and true favorites, reach for them all the time brushes. And then this is a collection of Morphe brushes that I have amassed. Most of these at Ulta, and then I ordered a couple. I tried to get some that were similar to brushes I already had, or ones that I knew I would use functionally in a makeup routine. So we're going to kind of compare and contrast and see how I feel about them. I'm die-hard obsessed with makeup brushes. I have a makeup brush series on here if you guys want to check it out. I will link it right here, and it's also going to be down below. We're also going to be testing out the Morphe 3502 palette. I did my other follow-up to my anti-haul Morphe blah 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 video. I mentioned that if I had to base my entire opinion of Morphe on the 350 palette, then I would say that I don't like Morphe eyeshadows, but everyone told me that if I really wanted to make an opinion, that I needed to try 3502. And after I use this palette, I will have tried 3 different Morphe palettes, the Jaclyn Hill, which I do like a lot, the 350 and the 3502. If I don't like it after this, that's kind of the end of the discussion because I will have tried like enough products to make an overall opinion. My eyes are already primed and I'm going to start picking out my shadows. This palette in general doesn't look like something that I would normally gravitate towards. I do like some neutral and warm shadows, but like this is a warm ass eyeshadow palette. Do not like the way super warm colors look around my eyes in general. This whole row right here, this little area, just doesn't seem like something I would get a lot of use out of. A lot of these colors are basically identical, especially the shimmers. Good if you're a type of person who's going to hit pan on any one of those shadows. You wouldn't be in a situation where you have to repurchase the palette, but there are a lot of basically identical colors. We're gonna do kind of a warm, bronzy, coppery, dark, smoky eye. It's very similar to something I did in my last video. We're not really going for groundbreaking here. We're going for testing out the formula and the performance of the brushes. For my transition shade, I always use the fluffiest brush in my routine. My favorite brush that I use for my transition shade is the Smith 232 brush. This is the fluffy brush that I use pretty much every day when I'm doing my transition shade, and the Morphe version of that I'm going to use is going to be the M504. This one is just a little bit more fluffy than this one, and it's actually kind of tapered at the very tip of it. I'm going to start off using the Morphe brush. For my transition shade, I'm actually going to mix this top color right here in the outer corner, this color right here close to it. They're just kind of warm, caramelly brown, orangey tones. So the shadow and the brush are performing very nice. The brush is very soft, much more soft than I would have expected it to be, if I'm being honest. And so far, I'm not experiencing a whole lot of fallout. This brush feels really kind of cheap, I'm not gonna lie, but I think it was like $4 or $5, so I'm not expecting some sort of like artisan quality handle, ferrule, anything like that. It's just not the most sturdy feeling brush I own. So now I'm gonna do my other eye using my usual brush. This is the Smith 232, like I said in the beginning. I'm not sure, but based on what's happening right now, I think this might be synthetic because it's releasing the product a lot more easily onto my eye than this one, which is definitely a natural hair. Natural hair bristles have the ability to kind of cling on to powder. They kind of get deposited within the pores of the brush that you're using, so they release the product a little bit more slowly, which is good when you're trying to build up color or you really need to have a very soft blended out look. A synthetic is not really going to hold on to the pigment as much. It releases it much more quickly because there are no pores and it's a much more smooth texture of hair. I'll have to Google to find out if this is synthetic, but based on how they're performing, I think it might be. Okay, so that's my transition shade done. Next, I'm going to do my crease color. It's just gonna be a little bit lower and a little bit darker than my existing color I have on my lid. And for that, I'm going to use my Goss 03 brush on my normal eye, if you will. And the other eye, for my Morphe eye, I'm going to use the M505. They're not dead-on dupes for each other, but they look like they're going to kind of do the same job. The Goss one is just a little bit more pointy at the top, which means it's a little bit easier to control if you really want to have a very precise location of color. And then if you just kind of turn it on its side a little bit, you can diffuse it. This is just a little bit more fat, and the tip is a little bit less defined, so we'll see how it goes. I'm going to take this kind of rusty orange shade right here. First doing my Morphe eye. Kind of going slow because I don't know how this is gonna perform. Okay, so the shadow and the actual brush performed really well. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other eye using my usual, which like I said is the Goss 03. So the biggest difference that I can tell so far, and that can just be down to the nature of the brushes that I've chosen, is that the Morphe brushes release the pigment a lot more densely. Like if you can tell how kind of slow and soft the build is using my usual brushes and using the Morphe one, it's kind of like ba-bam, which I think is good if you really know how to control your brushes. Like my lines are a lot more harsh using the Morphe brushes than my usual brushes. Okay, so this is like a really orange look. Kind of what I meant when I said that I don't know if I'm gonna get a lot of use out of these shadows because I don't really wear colors this warm. So now I want to add some depth. I want to take a dark brown to kind of smoke it out before I move on to my lid work. And for that, I'm going to mix these two together. Probably could use just one, but I'm gonna mix these two. Number 3, I'm going to use on my normal eye, the MAC 221, which I use all the time. And for my Morphe eye, I'm gonna use the M514. These are very similar. They're just kind of like small, more like detail brushes that I can use to kind of control the depth and intensity. So I'm going to start off with my Morphe eye. I'm going to do the same thing with the other eye. So those of you at home who have to be noticing that it takes me a little bit longer to build these colors up on my regular eye, I might look at that as a disadvantage, but to me, looking at my makeup so far, like this eye is just not blended very well, and this one is much more well blended. The brushes from Morphe, like I said, do a good job depositing the product, but they're not very good at blending themselves out so far. Same eyeshadow technique I do with my makeup all the time. I just feel like this one looks, just being honest, I feel like this one looks a little better than this one. That doesn't mean I can't bring it all together here towards the last bit. I will say the eyeshadows, though, do perform very, very nice. The brushes, I'm just not sure how I feel about them. It have more to do with the fact that I'm just kind of stuck in my ways, and I have the brushes that I have because they work and I love them, and I'm just not ready to make the change over to a new type of brush. Who knows? So I'm going to take some brown cream eyeshadow from Makeup Forever on this flat brush. This is the MAC 242, I believe. I didn't end up picking up a flat brush from Morphe, so this will have to work on both eyes. And I'm just going to really press this all over the lid, kind of meeting up with that third crease color so I can kind of round this look out and set a base for my shadows that are going to go on my lid moving forward. I'm going to take another flat brush from MAC. It's the same exact one I just used to apply the cream base to apply my lid color, and this is where I'm getting nervous because all these lid colors are super, super warm, and I just do not like the way kind of like orange toned or yellow toned golds look on me at all. So what I'm going to do is I'll mix these two shades right here, more gold toned, more pink toned, and maybe get a nice neutral bronze type of look out of it. So we got some fallout issues, but I've said it before, fallout doesn't bother me. I basically never do my eye makeup after I've done my foundation, so it's not something that's going to affect the way my overall makeup looks. The only time fallout would be an issue for me is if like the shadows themselves performed very dusty and they were difficult to work with, but I don't find that to be the case with these. So that's just kind of like one pass of these shimmery shades on the lid. I'm going to wet my brush and see how that goes. Maybe I'll use this spray just because, you know, in keeping with. Use this spray. I would spray it away from like your phone, your mirrors, because it kind of like soaks everything. Which is good, I guess, when you're applying it on your face, especially if you need a setting spray that's going to give you like a very high dewy moisturized appearance, but I haven't used it yet for that, so I can't tell you. I'm going to add some more dark colors in the outer corner. I didn't get a brush small enough from Morphe to do that with, so I'm just going to use my usual, which is a Sigma brush, and I'm just going to start packing some black right here with this darker brown and see how it goes. The black actually seems like a pretty decent matte black, which I've said before, I use a matte black in pretty much every eyeshadow look that I do, so I'm very impressed with that. Very pigmented, holy crap. It's a really nice black shadow. So I'm pretty impressed with how these shadows performed overall. I'm going to turn the camera off, do my lashes, liner, all that good stuff. Pretty much every step that I have to do until I get ready to apply foundation. Then I'll turn the camera off again and we'll come back at the end so I can set my makeup using this, and then I'll do kind of a wrap up of how everything performed as a whole. But like I said, yeah, I'll turn it off and we'll come right back and talk about the Morphe Beauty Sponge. I'm not going to talk about the foundation that I'm using because it's one that I'm testing out that I plan on doing a review over later. But yeah, let's see how this bad boy works when we get back. Okay, I'm gonna move on to trying to do my foundation and concealer routine using this beauty sponge. This actually reminds me a lot of the Real Techniques sponge. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. It's orange, and it kind of has this little tapered situation that this one has, except one side of it is like totally round, and then one side of it is this flat little situation. The cool thing about this one is it has kind of a like sharp line right in the dead center of it, so if you're baking it would be pretty easy to use for that. This has a good density, it's pretty easy to use, and I feel like especially if you're like me and you do your brows first, it'd be easy to get around them because of this little point situation this has. Like, that's kind of cool, I'm not gonna lie, I'm into that. So this little side angle that it has too makes it very easy to press the foundation into your skin. The fact that I can easily press this into my skin and it's not really moving the foundation around underneath it, and it's not causing my concealer to move around. Like, I feel like it's giving me a little bit of a better coverage than when I've used other beauty sponges in the past. I just realized I have this and I was supposed to use it to do my foundation with. So I'm gonna put on one more layer of foundation even though I totally don't need it, just because I want to see how this brush does. So I would say this foundation brush is really, really nice. It's extremely dense and thick. So it's like kind of a more rounded top as opposed to something like this. It's a little bit more flat. This one's really nice too. It's from IT Cosmetics, but this one's not quite as stiff as this one. Like these bristles are aplenty in here. There are so many different bristles. So I think you could use this to get like a gorgeous coverage with almost any foundation. I do really like this one. I wish I had thought to use it to apply the whole thing, but even adding a second layer, like it still blended very, very well. It moved around very well. It didn't absorb a lot of product. Like this is a really nice brush. This is the Morphe M439. The Morphe E47 brush. I needed something to apply my cream contour with, and it was the thing that I thought might do the best. I don't really know like what else this is used for. So I'm just going to take my Tom Ford contour kit. This is nice. To blend it out, I'm going to use the Morphe M405, which is very similar to the brush I normally use to blend out my cream contour, which is the MAC, I don't know, this is a MAC brush. This is what I normally use. This is the Morphe one. I'm going to take my Sigma brush and do the same thing. The Morphe one is a little bit more flimsy, a little bit less dense. This one's definitely much more dense. But in terms of how they're working, I would say to blend my contour, I still prefer this MAC one. I'm going to apply my baking powder. This is the Dermablend Original Loose Setting Powder, and I'm going to try to use just the side of the beauty sponge that I haven't used for any of the cream products. I don't normally use like a remotely damp beauty blender situation to apply my baking powder, so let's hope things go just swimmingly. I'm going to try to use the little really fine point straight tip of this sponge to apply my baking powder down the center of my nose, which I always do when I'm contouring my nose. Okay. That little feature alone makes me really, really like this sponge. I'm just gonna let this hang out for like a minute and then I'll dust it off and we'll move on. Okay, so I'm going to do my lash line and we're going to use these two styles of brushes. I do need to add one like sweeping of a color using a fluffy brush that I do not have anything similar with from Morphe, so I'm just going to do that really quick, and the brush that I always use for that is the MAC. I think this is the 239. A mixture of the first two colors that I used in my crease to do this little kind of lower lash line transition shade, if you will. So I'll do that really, really quickly and then we'll move on. So this is the Sigma E21 and this is the Morphe M508. And I'm going to use these respectively to do my lash line very similar to the way that I always do it. I'm going to take the kind of orangey brown shades and the dark brown and just mix these on the brush and start smoking out my lash line. When I get down to this part, it's just like I'm just placing colors wherever I think they need to go. There's really no science to it. So the Sigma E21 is one of my favorite brushes in the world. I've been using it forever. So let's see if this is a dupe. This is nice. It's just really flimsy, which is the thing I like about the Sigma one, is it's really like thick and dense. This one you have to exercise a little bit more control with, and I feel like the Sigma one just kind of does the work for me. Let's try the Sigma. Ultimately, the vast majority of this video, especially as it pertains to brushes, is going to be very much dependent on personal preference, because brushes to me, like especially when I really, really like a brush, it becomes almost like an extension of my arm. I can be doing my makeup and I can run into a situation where I'm like, oh, I know that I need a brush that's stiffer or thinner or thicker or fatter. Like understand how brushes work really well at this point, and I have my own preferences, and you might as well. So I'm going to apply some black eyeliner to my waterline and then start smudging that out. And for my non-Morphe eye, I'm going to use this flat shader brush from MAC. And then for my Morphe eye, I'm going to use the M432. You guys have seen me use the brushes that I'm using in this video, like for my regular eye. You've seen me use a million times. I use the same brushes over and over again, so I'm really interested to see how the similar styles in the Morphe line are going to kind of hold up to my preference. So I'm going to apply this in my eye and then immediately start smudging it out with some black shadow on this brush. So this one's okay. I feel a little too long for what I'm used to, but that doesn't mean like it's unusable. So I have two brushes here that could potentially be my bronzer brush. I have the Morphe M527, which is just kind of like a big, kind of fluffy paddle brush. And then I have the E59, which is what I think I'm going to use because this one's a little bit nicer feeling. For my non-Morphe side, I'm using the Goss number 11. Now I'm going to take the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist and just spray myself. Feeling like my skin was looking particularly dry, so I'm interested to see if I feel like this setting mist does a good job of bringing some hydration back to it. For highlighter on my regular side of my face, I'm going to use the Sigma F03. Holy crap. And for the other side, I'm going to use the Morphe M510. Oh, so much highlighter, I don't like it. I didn't mean to put this much on. I'm still feeling a little dry, so I'm going to spray one more time. So it definitely has a very refreshing smell to it. Something I would like to have in a candle, actually. There's definitely fragrance added. I don't know if there's alcohol in it. Let's see if there's the ingredients. I don't see anywhere on here where I'm to believe that this is got alcohol in it, which is usually an ingredient found in makeup setting sprays that are intended to make your makeup last longer. But there is fragrance in it, and as a whole, you want to be careful about using too many things with fragrance because fragrance is really bad for your skin. Wow, my hair's like soaking wet now. Okay, you guys, this is the finished product. Like I said, I'm not having the best makeup day in the world, but we're not here to talk about the whole situation. We're here for a very targeted reason, and that is to discover, this being my second Morphe video, this being my second time trying Morphe products, do I still feel like Morphe is overhyped, not worth the money, a scam, whatever, you know how everyone get all up in their feelings about Morphe, everyone's got something to say. These brushes as a whole are okay. On a scale of 1 to 5, I'd give them like a 3.9. Like, they're almost there. Brushes that have E on it are from the Elite collection, and obviously I would have to say that these are definitely the nicer brushes out of the ones I have. This foundation brush is bomb. I know I'm going to use it over and over and over again. I like this highlighter brush. This cream or what I decided was my cream contour brush. This E47 brush is nice. The rest of them are okay. The only thing that I've noticed, and you know, I talked about this during the actual tutorial, is I feel like they don't blend out product as well as they deposit product. If you're a beginner, you might not notice a difference in something like that, but I've tried so many brushes, you know, MAC, Smith, Sigma, Wayne Goss. I've tried Coastal Scents brushes, more expensive brushes, less expensive brushes. Like, I've tried a lot of brushes, and I do find these to perform pretty decent. It's just a matter of the fact that as I said before, I just felt like they didn't do a great job blending out the product that I was applying. It definitely took a little bit more work. I know it's not the eyeshadow palette because I didn't have the problem with both eyes. I'm not saying I'll never use these again. I think I like them enough to see what other uses I can get out of them. And if Ulta especially starts carrying more of the E line, the Elite brushes, I might actually pick up a few more of those as well. Now for the palette, as I discussed, this is the 3502. I have a video where I compared the Jaclyn Hill and the 350 palette, and I said that the 350 palette I didn't think was very good at all, but I love the Jaclyn Hill palette. This I think is pretty decent. Like, I would give this a 4.5 out of 5. Like, it's pretty good in terms of performance, but there's just certain issues with this palette as a whole that I have, and the biggest one is, like, these colors are all so warm, like too warm for me. I don't really get off on that, like, orange and red, brown, like red orange, all the time smoky eye look. I like something with just a little bit more of a neutral tone to it. I just don't feel like there's a lot of colors in here that are neutral pretty much at all, especially as far as the lid colors are concerned. Like, I tried to get something that had a little bit more of a pink tone into it, which is more flattering on me, and this still came out looking pretty orange. That matte black though, like, that's a really good matte black eyeshadow, and I know from matte black eyeshadow, I would like to, you know, get my hands on a palette from them that I am more gravitated towards in terms of the color story that's in it, because performance wise this is great. In terms of like colors that I'm drawn to, this wasn't exactly like my ideal situation. The setting spray, I don't know how I feel about this. I like that it's in an aerosol can. I've only ever seen one other aerosol can setting spray. It's by Japanesque. Every time I go to Ulta, I think about picking it up, so maybe I'll grab it next time to see how it compares. From what I understand, this is not meant to be a makeup prolonging spray. Like, it's meant to give you more of a dewy effect. Since I'm feeling really dry today, like, that was pretty much right up my alley, but I don't know if I feel like I'm a whole lot more hydrated. Like, I am a little bit, but it's not as much as I would expect. It smells nice. It definitely has a very clean, very fresh smell, which I enjoy. Not something I would want to use all the time because of the fragrance in it. Personally, I'm just a little weird about having fragrance products on my skin, on my face. But if you just need something nice and like no muss, no fuss, and easy and inexpensive, then this would be pretty decent. I would probably give this like a 3.5 out of 5. Like, it's okay. And lastly, the sponge. This thing looks like it got like I showed it who's boss, you know what I'm saying? I love this sponge. I will absolutely order a few more of these. I think this will be a constant in my makeup routine now. They're far less expensive than beauty blenders. I literally just bought a new beauty blender the day before yesterday, and it's just sitting on my vanity. And it might not get cracked open for quite some time because I really enjoy this. Now, I can't speak to how well it's going to hold up over being washed, how quick it starts to kind of get to the point where it's not usable anymore, but what I do like about it is it's a nice texture. It's not too dense. It's not too soft. I feel like because it is a little bit more dense and this flat situation it has right here, it makes pressing product into the skin very easy, which in turn kind of creates a more pigmented effect with your skin products. And I also like the fact that you almost have, it's like three sponges in one, because you get one side, two side, three sides, and they're all different. So usually I have to use like multiple beauty blenders to do my face. I feel like I would use one beauty blender for my foundation and then one for concealer and then a dry one for baking, but I used just one to do my entire face today, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. So I would give this a 5 out of 5. I really love this. Alright guys, moment of truth. Now that I've broken it all down for you, do I think Morphe is worth the hype? Yes, I think so. I think it's good. I think it's much better than I thought it was going to be. I think if they continue to keep their products, especially their eyeshadow formulas, more in line with this particular type of formula that is found in the 3502 and the Jaclyn Hill palette, I've said it in the last video, I would definitely consider picking up more of their products. I will just say that, like, it's kind of hard. Morphe gets a bad rap because it's always in our face all the time. I mean, I can only speak for myself personally, but I was never going to buy this stuff if it hadn't come to Ulta. There was no way I was gonna go and order it. I was so turned off by it, but the first time I went to Ulta and I swatched some of the shadows, I felt surprised, very surprised by how well they seem like they would perform. I don't know if Morphe is going to continue with their current marketing plan now that they're in Ulta. I don't see how it serves them in any way if Ulta's going to like agree to sell a product that there are going to be other people selling at a discount via coupon codes. Like, we'll see how that all plays out. There, you know, there's things that are really positive about this line, and number one, it's very inexpensive. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would love to know if you have any other Morphe products that you recommend me picking out. I am not affiliated with Morphe. I do not have a code, so these opinions are 110% mine. I feel like I'm eating a lot of crow right now because I genuinely was expecting to hate all of this, but I can admit when I was wrong. So anyways, if you guys want more Morphe tutorials, please let me know. Leave your comments, fun facts, and suggestions down below in the comments. Thumbs up the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you are not, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you stay up to date with all of my uploads. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Love you more than you will ever know.